New at noon, a big change is coming to Oaklawn. The 117-year-old track is now adding December race dates to the calendar. The park will host a 66-day 21-22 season from Friday, December 3rd through Sunday, May 8th. Races during the season will be primarily Friday through Sunday with some exceptions, and there will be no events held December 24th through the 26th or on Easter Sunday. Purses for the season are projected to be between 45 and 50 million, the highest in the country for that time of year. Oaklawn plans to present the new proposed schedule to the Arkansas Racing Commission at their next meeting for approval. The White House has launched a nationwide blitz to get unvaccinated Americans to sign up for the shot. It's all part of President Biden's push to get 70% of all American adults to have at least one dose of the vaccine by the 4th of July. Natalie Brand has more details from the White House.
As part of the June vaccination blitz, the White House helped organize more than 2,000 events over the weekend, most aimed at underserved communities. First Lady Jill Biden and Dr. Anthony Fauci visited an historic church in Harlem Sunday as it hosted a vaccination clinic.
People in this community trust this church and trust the people in the church. And that's how we're going to do it, through the faith communities, to reach out to their congregation, their flocks, and say, come forward and be healthy.
While more than 60% of all American adults have received at least one dose of the vaccine, vaccination rates are still lagging in some communities of color.
We're going to end this outbreak for absolutely certain.
Yes.
And the vehicle to ending it is vaccination.
The number of daily shots continues to drop, especially in the South, where vaccination rates lag behind the rest of the country. While the administration remains laser focused on vaccinations, it's also renewing efforts to re-examine the origins of the virus, asking the intelligence community to report back in coming months.
I think we made a mistake earlier on in many people, many officials dismissed this possibility.
Former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice told Face the Nation the U.S. was too quick to dismiss the possibility that the virus leaked out of a lab in Wuhan, China.
Some of the evidence was right in front of our faces. We know that there were State Department diplomats who inspected, so to speak, that laboratory and came back and said that the safety practices were substandard.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken said this weekend the U.S. will hold China accountable on the virus's origins. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Secretary Blinken said China needs to allow full access to the Wuhan lab as part of the investigation of the virus's origins. China severely restricted access to that lab when the World Health Organization sent investigators last year. If you are personally looking to get vaccinated this week, you'll have several chances to get the one-dose J&J shot through Baptist Health. Tomorrow and Thursday, there will be clinics from 10 to 6 in the hospital parking lot on Canis Road. And then on Wednesday, there will be a clinic at the main library in Little Rock located on Rock Street. That one will be from 9:30 until noon. For more info on all of the Baptist Health clinics, just head over to thv-at-noon.com. Arkansas State Police are investigating a deadly police shooting that happened over the weekend in Carroll County. It happened in Green Forest Saturday morning around 8. Officers arrived after 34-year-old Mong Tway's roommates reported a disturbance and wanted Tway removed from the apartment. That's according to an initial police report. Reports then claim Tway approached an officer holding a, quote, large knife and refused to drop it. The officer then shot the suspect, who was taken to the Berryville Hospital, where he later died. The body has been taken to the state crime lab. Meanwhile, in Pine Bluff, police are investigating a homicide that happened late last night. Officers were responding to a shooting on South Maple Street, a couple blocks away from Central Park. That's when they found 36-year-old Brandon Dement with gunshot wounds in front of a home. Dement was taken to Jefferson Regional Medical Center, where he later died. This is the 8th homicide for Pine Bluff this year. Vice President Kamala Harris is on her first foreign trip today, tackling an urgent and difficult issue, illegal immigration to the U.S. She arrived in Guatemala last night, in part to learn why so many people leave the country. Vice President Harris is expected to announce new plans to address drug and human trafficking. Ed O'Keefe is in Guatemala City.
Guatemalan President Alejandro Yamatei points out he and Vice President Kamala Harris have one thing in common.
She doesn't hold back, which is good. She's frank. We're not on the same side of the coin. We are in agreement in the what, which is something. We're not in agreement in the how.
Okay. Yamate told us a root cause of undocumented immigration from his country is the economy. And we saw for ourselves that in some cases, the root cause of immigration is literally the roots that can no longer grow. It's forced parents like Lorenza, who struggles to feed her family, to let her oldest son go north. He's now in Houston and sends money twice a month.
When was the moment that you knew he had to go to the United States?
We saw that there were some who went who already have a house. They have clothes for their family.
Things are even more dire for Lucia, whose husband also immigrated to Houston and now works in a restaurant.
300 quetzales cada mes es lo que ustedes reciben desde su...
He sends her a few $100s a month that she mostly uses to pay off thousands of dollars in debts to a bank and human traffickers. She says the coyotes charged her husband more than $14,000 for safe passage.
Mostly people want to stay in Guatemala. They want to be in their homes.
Mary McInerney, a Chicago native, is country director for Guatemala for Save the Children, which helps women like Lorenza and Lucia.
If the vice president called you and said, what are the root causes of the problem in Guatemala, what would you tell her?
The main one, inequity. I mean, it's a big one. It's really big, but unfortunately, the majority of the poor and extremely poor do not have access to food, jobs, and education.
One other thing to watch for today, any talk of COVID-19 vaccines. The U.S. has already committed 500,000 doses to Guatemala. Leaders here would like more. But one watchdog group we spoke to says there's already concern the country's struggling to put shots in the arms with the little supply that it has. From here, the vice president heads next to Mexico, where she'll meet with that country's president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. Ed O'Keefe, CBS News, Guatemala City.
Guatemala's president wants targeting human traffickers to be a top American priority and is looking for the U.S. Congress to pass a bill declaring them federal criminals. Meanwhile, the president is expected to meet with Republican negotiators today to discuss a compromise on his plan to overhaul the nation's infrastructure. After meetings last week, the president has agreed to lower the price tag of his plan, but parties still can't agree on how to pay for it. U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg was on CBS's Face the Nation to give an update on the talks.
American people want us to act. They believe in the need to invest in not just roads and bridges, but making sure that it's more affordable to be an American, building up our care infrastructure. And the American people are with us in terms of how we want to pay for this, which is by ensuring that corporations and the wealthy pay their fair share.
Buttigieg visited the I-40 River Bridge last week. The bridge has been closed for a month due to its fracture in the structure. Crews have been working to repair the beam, but for now, the older I-55 bridge is the only bridge connecting Arkansas and Memphis.